Alright, raise your hand if you think housing is too affordable in this country. No hands? Of course not. We all know that the opposite is true. In fact, home affordability is at its lowest level since the 1980s. Why? Well, one huge reason is we don't have enough houses. This article estimates that the nation is short about 3 million homes, almost entirely in the bottom half of the market. So why haven't developers built more homes? Because the numbers don't add up. For a variety of reasons, it's really hard for developers to make a profit on affordable housing. But the great news is that Kamala Harris is actually prioritizing addressing housing in her presidential campaign. And contrary to what some people say, she has specific, extremely detailed proposals for doing so. And a lot of these proposals involve tax breaks, which would make building affordable homes something that developers could afford to do. Let's break it down. First, to incentivize building more affordable rental housing, Harris wants to expand a tax break for developers called the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit. This credit provides a tax incentive to construct or rehabilitate affordable rental housing for low-income households. Harris also wants to create a comparable tax break for builders to address the shortfall in affordable homes for purchase. Under the new proposal, home builders would get a tax break on profits made from homes built and sold to first-time home buyers. Harris is also proposing a new tax credit for renovating homes that can't be sold for enough to cover the cost of repairing them. This would help bring to the market homes that have fallen into disrepair and been left to just, do like that. Harris is also proposing funds to help states and communities overcome local hurdles to building affordable housing. This will help turn communities from NIMBYs into YIMBYs, if you get my drift. Now, to quote the Washington Post, each of these moves would be meaningful on its own, but together they would amount to the most aggressive supply-side push since the national investment in housing that followed World War II. But that's not all, because Harris has also promised to continue with President Biden's trust-busting approach. Now, before you say, oh, what does that have to do with housing prices? A lot. You probably haven't even heard about this, but last week the Department of Justice sued RealPage. They're a technology company with an algorithm that helps landlords push rents as high as possible. It's basically price fixing, and if this lawsuit succeeds, rents will go down. This is exactly the kind of unsexy but meaningful approach that a Trump administration would immediately roll back, but Harris has promised to continue with. There's more to Harris's plan, but this gives you a good sense of it. It's a plan that should be popular on both sides of the aisle, as the Washington Post says, because it marshals the resources of the private sector to tackle a public policy challenge that plagues red and blue states alike. In other words, everyone should like this plan, unless of course you're the MAGA type who just wants to control the profits and leave everyone else struggling, in which case you probably prefer the other guy. After all, that describes him to a T.